Good evening, everybody, or good morning if you're on the other side of the earth. Welcome. We love you wherever you are in the world. Wish we were together so we could give out high fives, fist bumps, hugs, all the goods. How's everyone doing? Let's share.
Kisses.
Let's just
You didn't say
kisses.
kisses.
I was about to say kisses. Like Nathan, I'm just gonna give Nathan a big old kiss on the cheek when I see him. Joseph too. I'm just gonna hand him out. So if you guys are concerned, if it makes you feel awkward, just a disclaimer for when we have live events. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't connect. I had to click on the open in Zoom link. Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
I think sometimes I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure it out. Sometimes I think that's device dependent or browser dependent.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully if you get in, message us if you ever have trouble. So, hey, just everybody share. Let's connect for a second. You can turn your cameras on if you want. We'd love seeing your handsome and beautiful faces. And go ahead and let's just share for just a second. Let's just catch up. What are you working on? What are you excited about? What is happening? All right. Nathan is driving. So don't look down, man. Don't just hands on the wheel, eyes on the road. Working on preparing for a 3-month road trip starting in July. Oh, yeah, super awesome. I'm working on doing a road trip back up through Mexico. Oh, man. I'm actually quite excited. You know why? Mexican tacos are amazing. Just saying. Everybody needs to have some Mexican tacos. Doing some yard work? Nice. That's great. We've been doing some yard work and some serious, massive construction work.
All we have doors,
inside and out.
People. Do you see this
Check
door?
it out. We have doors.
We've only had doors for like 3 days.
Things are advancing here. We even have shower doors. So when you're like, water doesn't go everywhere. It's super awesome. Love this stuff. What else? What else are you working on? What else are you excited about? Anything you're reading? Anything you're trying? Anything you're experiencing? Anything you're struggling with? We just love connecting with you guys and hearing from you a little bit. But if you're all sitting here, Abby had a baby. Nice. Good. Mary's reading the book, Courage to Teach. Yeah, yes, it is super crazy good, huh? Book. I love that book. That guy, he's a great teacher too. And just his voice, his message, just like, I just love this guy. I just want to give him a hug. And I want to be a better person, right?
Well, voice, if you listen to it.
Well, I mean, no, not his actual voice, style. His writing voice, his message, his style. Love it. Had a great family vacation last week. Nice. Those are the best. Been reading 12-Week Year. Really like it so far. Nice, Joseph. I had a couple of my coaching clients read that this week. They really like that. It's about getting things done, people. Okay. Are you ready? Took the whole family rappelling in a slot canyon. That is awesome. Oh man, we need to do that again. I love that. I love slot canyons. Slot canyons as a family.
Oh, Rachel, dying to know if you made it up the mountain. Haha, that's funny. I'm posting about Orizaba right now on my stories.
That's why I've been getting questions too. They're like, "Did you do the mountain?" I'm like,
"What are you talking about?
What are they talking about?"
Because we did that.
They're following her
in January. That's how far behind I am on my Instagram stories, which is okay. I'm fine with that, but you'll just have to watch my stories to see
killing you with anticipation. That's
because I'm right now
torture.
The one I just did today is I was sending my kids down the mountain by themselves.
Oh, that was a tough moment. Tough moment.
Yeah.
You guys, it was really dark and it was really cold and we were really tired and sick, actually.
Did you see my stories today? Greg's been gone all day. I just haven't.
Nice.
But so I just want to share this because in my stories, we were going up the mountain and then you were way ahead and I gave my phone to the guide and I was like, "Hey, here, take a picture of me and my son." And I go over to stand by my son and he's on the ground on his knees, feeling like he was going to vomit and crying this was so sad. And the guy shot a photo of us there. It was so like special. I was like, oh, wow. And I didn't know until right now when I was posting.
That's real.
Anyway, so
Things just got real. Oh, there it is.
Paid off half of our outstanding loan today.
Amazing.
Freedom.
Holy guacamole. That's
Wow.
huge. I'm trouble joining the meeting. It's disconnecting us and trying to reconnect. So Can you answer that, please? Let's see. Boom. Top tips for ooh, this is good. Okay, request here. I'd like your top tips for mastering emotions, especially when obstacles pop up. I started with the obstacle is the way. Nicely done. But what is your best tip for centering yourself, even for something like your kid being obnoxious, which is a great one, right? You're doing. Sorry, we're trying to help people get in here. Sorry. Yeah, so that's the number and then the passcode. Okay, so that's excellent. I actually created a course about emotional mastery because, we all desperately need emotional mastery in our lives. Otherwise, we are all over the place, right? And our emotions over here and over there, just we wake up and they're over here, and then something happens over there, something doesn't happen over here, and it's our thoughts, our emotions, just the food we eat, our physical stuff, our state, just our emotions are all over the place. And then people say things and do things and cut us off, and then we hit an obstacle and there's a failure, we make a mistake, and that thing from the past, and blah 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 blah, and we're all over the place. And so getting emotional mastery is learning to both control and direct our emotions. And what's amazing is that our emotions actually act as a massive power plant. We have tons of energy. And so our emotions are the biggest driving force in our lives. We think we're very logical people, but we're actually very emotional. Most of our decisions are because we feel like doing something.
And this ties in perfectly what we're going to talk about today with congruence and coherence. Because one of the biggest impacting factors in your life is getting your thoughts and your emotions to sync up.
Well, and your actions and your ideals to sync up.
So like your thoughts could be here. You could be trying to think positive thoughts and think of it as like a wavelength. But if your emotions are like all over the place, then you actually have a harder time creating the things you want, like non-obnoxious kids or earning more money or
lifestyle,
because you're incongruent. You're not parallel with your thoughts and feelings, right? They're like this.
So you're actually operating in perpetual self-sabotage.
So I actually, in this case, specifically for kids, I am actually creating calling it a checklist right now for no more yelling checklist. And there's these certain little techniques you can use. First of all, the main technique we like to use, I think is the best to use, is preventing the situations where you get upset. Preventing the situations where your kids melt down. I think prevention is like the very best thing you can do. And so few people do it. So many parenting books, so many parenting tips, so many hacks out there are all about discipline when things are going wrong, when the problem's happening. And I'm like, why don't you just prevent the problem from happening? Like, that's so much easier.
What?
Like, even someone was asking me on Instagram, what do you do about tantrums when you're traveling? And I'm like, we prevent tantrums from happening. That's what that's the best scenario right there, is you prevent it from happening. You prevent your kids from being obnoxious. You prevent the meltdowns by being strategic and aware. If you know this too, if you pay close attention, when your kids are kind of starting to walk down that path of being annoying or melting down, or right, you can see. And then if you look at when it happens, you can look back and be like, oh, well, this happened and they didn't get enough sleep and then they're hungry and this and this and this, all these things. And so if you work on paying attention to those things and then preventing the issues upstream, making sure they get enough sleep, making sure they get enough cuddle time, right? If I start off my day by cuddling with my little girls, trust me, their day goes a lot smoother, and so does mine, because I started the day with connecting with them. Make sure that when they need something, you pay attention to them and you give them what they need. That's the thing about kids. Like they can be obnoxious, but usually they're being obnoxious because they feel like their needs aren't being met.
Yep.
And they don't know what else to do. And they don't know how to come to you and say, Mom, I really just need your attention right now because I've been feeling neglected and hurt. And, they don't know how to articulate that. So they just start being annoying or something like that. So if you can pay attention to that and give them the attention they need and fulfill their needs and make sure that they know they're being heard and that you're responding to them, that's how you prevent them melting down, which results in you melting down. To me, that is by far my best strategy. That is what I do hands down most of the time.
All in favor of not melting down. Yeah. Woo. Wait,
that's my top
I know some of
recommendation.
you didn't raise your hands, and I'm wondering why. That's a little, even those with the camera off. I know some of you are like, I didn't raise my hand on that. Okay, hold up though. Here's a scenario I know you're seeing in your mind. You're like, your kids come to you with their needs, and you're like, how can I meet their needs? I'm empty.
Yes, that also happens.
So,
but this is another form of prevention.
Yeah, my number one thing, I would say this. So, top tip for this, for emotional mastery. And if you want to deep dive into this, get the course. It's really awesome. It's called Teaching Your Kids Emotional Mastery, which obviously teaches you how to do it too, because you got to model it. But the number one thing is every morning, make sure you fill yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You've got to feel good. You've got to change your state. And you might be saying, well, what if I just wake up negative and grumpy? You're like, yeah, welcome to life. Like, I would bet more people wake up grumpy than wake up happy. And so they say things like, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. My bed doesn't have a wrong side, people.
But only because it's not that you wake up like this in the morning, but you're intentional.
It takes a couple minutes.
You're intentional.
I'm an intentional man.
You're intentional about creating this.
Yes.
No matter what you feel like when you get up.
So it doesn't matter what I feel like when I wake up. I have a ritual that I've been doing for 20 something years that it gets me grounded, centered, and filled.
Because again, that's the prevention piece. Because you're like, okay, how do I center myself in the moment when I'm so angry and upset or annoyed? Well, okay,
feel better before that happens.
There's some things you can do that help, but really the best answer is, make sure you feel better before that. Try to prevent that from happening. That's really the best answer.
Self-care, baby.
And that's true for us. I see that 100% true for us. If we're not intentional about preventing us getting stressed, us getting upset, us getting annoyed, we're likely to melt down too, because that's just human nature. So we have to be intentional, and we are very intentional about preventing the meltdowns, preventing the irritation, the obnoxiousness, the stress, by filling ourselves up and then paying attention to our kids' needs. So we also prevent them from getting to that state.
Yeah.
That's hands down
awesome.
The best approach.
We're going to give you one more. This one's a mind-blowing, awesome sauce strategy. You ready? Some of you know this already. Any of you who've done the 28-day challenge with us, I miss doing the 28-day challenge because it's powerhouse. And we still practice those. I hope those of you who've been through it with us are still practicing it. And if you're not, get a copy of it and start using it. But one of the main things in the 20-day challenge is every single morning, you choose the emotion that you want for that day. And yes, my friends, I know this might be a little mind-blowing for some of you. We all have the power to choose the emotion we want to feel. That might be new news for a lot of people. because we think we're victims to our emotions. Well, I just don't feel well. I don't feel like it. I don't feel, I'm not motivated. Or they said that, they made me mad. They made me feel that way. I lost my temper. That's all victimism. The reality is we get to choose our emotion. And again, you want to choose it before the day starts. Because if you're in the moment, it's harder to choose it. But if you have chosen it first, you get up in the morning and say, you know what, today, I'm just going to be peaceful. You know what I had to do today? I chose patience. I chose patience today, and man, did I need it. Holy guacamole. But guess what?
If you've ever been shopping in Guatemala
Or driving.
You need patience.
Or working with people. Like patience, man. And I leaned into it. And when I started to feel impatient, I just breathed into it, and I was good all day. It was awesome.
Until he showed up at the door at 5:27 with a smile on his face and said, let's start.
Let's start this party, right? So you guys choose your emotion. And when you get knocked off during the day, go back to it.
That's what I was going to say. The key piece is when you choose your emotion, it's not that things don't come up throughout the day that throw you off that emotion. They do, but that's the point. You've chosen in the morning, this is who I'm going to be today. So you come back to that emotion when you get tempted to be thrown off of that.
One more bonus.
That is super powerful. I've been doing that lately too, because I've been needing it. Same thing. It's been a little crazy, not gonna lie. We're remodeling this house while we live in it in Guatemala. And it's been challenging.
You know how your house has little annoyances anyways? When you live in a construction zone, everything is annoying, right? And you just have to,
we just got shower doors, and we have a sink now with running water, but the hot water is still not working, and the sink's loose, the faucet. Didn't tell you that yet.
More disappointing news. It's ruined my day. Just kidding.
That's
okay,
it.
One more thing.
Gone.
Is this helpful? Is this stuff helpful, you guys? Because we've got to dig into emotional mastery and greatness. We've got to make sure that our emotions, we're feeling what we want to feel most of the time. In fact, let me ask you that. I know I've asked some of you before. I ask this all the time. I do it in my trainings because it's so powerful. Every one of you right now, identify, just write down for yourself, what is your major predominant emotion? What do you feel most of the time? Just take a quick assessment. What's your major predominant emotion? What do you, on an average week, what do you feel most of the time? Overwhelmed. Oh, overwhelmed again. Oh, overwhelmed again. Hey, are you guys texting each other and saying, let's all put overwhelmed in the chat box? Well, let's overwhelm the chat with overwhelm. I had a coaching client, awesome guy. You know, he told me yesterday, he said, man, no one's ever asked me that. He says, my answer is dissatisfied. I said, what energy does that produce? And he's like, oh, just kind of like, what's the point? Why even keep going? Right? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And so if overwhelm is your most frequent emotion, think about what effect that has on you emotionally and what's happening in your world and what energy that gives off and how you start assessing your life. Whoo-wee! Man, this stuff is good. So good. Tired, overwhelmed, not enough. Yep. Inadequate, fear. A lot of relate. Same here. A lot of relate. Even had a inadequate fear. Had a grateful. Ah, nice. A grateful. Good. Gratitude's a big one. Gratitude is a
reset.
Pattern interrupter. It's a reset. If ever you're feeling, it doesn't matter what you're feeling. If you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, frustrated, discouraged, angry, whatever, just pause and start thinking about what you are super crazy grateful for. I've used that since I was 16. when things were really, really hard and I was getting upset emotionally, I was losing it. I would just stop and say, what am I insanely grateful for right now? Have you guys ever stopped to be grateful for your pinky finger or your pinky toe? You know, you'd fall over, you wouldn't have very good balance if you didn't have a pinky toe. You're grateful for that? What did I injured myself. What did I do? Oh man, I crazy injured my little pinky. And you're like, that doesn't even look like a scratch, sissy boy. But I hit it on a piece of rebar and it
with a hammer.
With a hammer, I was bam! Oh, it was so deep. I was like,
he almost passed out.
Yeah, I was like, I got vertigo up there because the pain was so bad. And I know you're all saying, understanding how weak I am, but that's okay. I can admit those things. But wow, I hope you're all feeling gratitude right now that your pinky is not killing. Do you have a gratitude for smell? For taste?
Can't you smell?
Come on, you guys. Feel a little gratitude, people. Let's do it right now, just for fun. Everyone throw in the chat box if you can. What is one thing you just feel really grateful for right now, right in this moment? Mine is Babe. I was thinking about her all day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
sounds like
I'm so grateful
a baby
for you."
pig or something.
Snuggling with my daughter, good night. Beautiful, warm weather in the Pacific Northwest. Nice. Family, sight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Husband. I'm grateful to be a husband because that means I have a wife. And when you have a wife, life is good. My gosh, life is good with a wife. Yeah, right. A lot of people have lost their taste with COVID and they're really missing it. So be great for that. Grateful my daughter has been depressed, is smiling more. Bam! Huge win. Really grateful how my kids support each other. My son's fishing club with my daughter. He's one of his own activity to help her. Super awesome. Nice. That's beautiful. You guys love us. Grateful for daily bicycling. Yep. Nice. It's all so good. So good. Avocados. Threw that one out there. Woo! Right? Man, you don't even live in avocado country, Emily. You ought to come down here and have some fresh ones right off the tree, my friend. It's a different experience. Okay, let's go way back up. There was other comments. More.
So
all the way back up there. There's other
dominant
stuff.
Emotion?
No, we got all those. Keep going.
No, that's
I know it's on. Keep going. We're gonna try to hit it all here. Oh, wait, cool. Had a son that served a mission in Guatemala. Yeah, cool. Totally applies to husbands too. Good, glad to hear that. Going to the Dominican Republic next week for the first time ever. Whoa, I love that place. And Dazzler had an in-laws. Come on, let's show their business. They travel a lot. So 8 of us, including the new grandbaby of my son who lives with us. It's how they are reimbursing us for my husband's time. Wow, nice. Cool. Otherwise, I know we would never spend any resources that way. All inclusive place. I'm excited. Yes, instead of feeling guilty. Good. Yes. Go have a wonderful adventure. I don't know if you remember, we lived there. We love the DR. There was one more comment above that. This one. So our 17-year-old son is in a wilderness treatment therapy program. Awesome. Probably in Arizona. If those are common out there, and they're amazing. We're working hard reading and working with therapists to repair family relationships and systems. Oh my goodness. Yes. All of us need to be working on our family relationships and systems all the time. Okay. We're gonna talk about congruence. And what's your word?
Coherence.
Congruence and coherence. So
congruence and coherence.
Let's just share real quick. Share in the chat, or actually you can jump on mic or you can jump in the chat box. What does it mean to you to be congruent or coherent? What does it mean to be congruent? What does congruence mean to you? I know a lot. I'm excited to hear your perspectives. I know a lot of us, we are going along through life and we're not really cognizant of it. We may not be totally aware of it, but inside it feels like we're pulling in different directions. We feel divided inside of ourselves. Have you guys ever done like a three-legged race or a potato sack, right? Where, so like Rachel and I, it's like you tie your legs together, you have a tie around the ankle and then around the thigh, and you try to run. You guys ever try to do that? Man, it is not very easy because you're just, whoa, 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 and you're all over the place, right? And incongruence, internal in our hearts and our mindset and our heart set, just inner incongruence or incongruence between activities and objectives, all of that stuff really pulls us in different directions. And so you're trying to go one direction, but it's almost like something's inside of you just throwing you from side to side while you're trying to move forward. And you're just like, good night. What is wrong? You with me? I'm trying to come up with examples here, people, so that we can conceptualize it. But it causes a lot of problems and makes us so ineffective and inefficient. So congruence. Oh yeah.
Balance.
So
life and work.
So to balance life and work,
different
opposites, right? We're on different pages, or like Rachel was talking about earlier, where things just don't line up. They just don't seem to match.
What I want to do is pull up maybe I'll do that while you're talking for a minute. I want to pull up an image here to show.
Nice. So where do you feel like, we're going to hit it hard right here. Just want honest answers. And I just want you to do a quick self-examination. Where do you feel like there is some incongruence in your life? Where do you feel like there's maybe a disconnect between what you say and what you do? A disconnect between your thoughts and feelings. Well, actually, they're always connected. But what you want to feel and what you actually feel. A disconnect, an incongruence between your how about this one? Who you think you are, the way you see yourself, and the way you actually are. Yeesh. How about the incongruence between the way you see yourself and the way others see you? How about incongruence between the ideal you have in your mind and the reality you have in the moment? Or remember this quote? I've shared this before. The chief cause of failure and unhappiness in life is giving up what we want most for what we want in the moment. I'm going to repeat that. The chief cause of failure and unhappiness in life is giving up what we want most for what we want in the moment. That is major, massive incongruence. That we just like, I really want this, but I'm just going to do this right now. Right? Whew, big stuff. So here's some examples coming in over in the chat. What I intend to do with my time and what actually gets done. Yeah, good example. Really good example. Another one, food. I know what I should eat, but I have a hard time doing it. Another one, the incongruence between mind and body. Yes. Yeah, another excellent one.
And mind and feelings and emotions, which we're going to talk a lot about today.
Another one is being present in the moment. Isn't that fascinating? Here's a major incongruence I see all the time. I can literally be sitting here with my sweetheart and then she gets up and goes, right? Now we have a little person at the door. Another one is like, I'm here physically, but mentally and emotionally, I'm totally somewhere else. Anybody else experience that? Anyone? Bueller, right? Anybody else experience that? Where you're here physically in the moment, but man, mentally you are on a different planet. Or here's a big one. You're in the past or the future.
Which we're going to tie in today.
Oh, good. She has all these plans to talk about. Cool stuff. I can't wait to hear it. You with me? Like, this stuff is amazing. Okay, let's see. Here's some other ones. I want to be a professional writer, but as soon as my husband or daughter needs something, I drop everything to help them. I get frustrated with myself. I feel like since I am not making money, it's a selfish time block. So when something more important comes up, I leave my writing work undone and it gets my
Yes.
leftovers. Excellent
That's
example.
incongruence.
Excellent example. Man, that's good. You guys are good at this. Wanting to
We're good
rest.
at incongruence. Is that
Yeah.
just-
You guys are really great at incongruence. I mean, this is quite the group here. Wow.
That's not what he meant.
No, I love learning from you. I love the way you articulate things. It's so insightful, isn't it? For all of us. Somebody articulates something and we all go, "Ooh, I've done that. Yeah, thanks for saying that. Thanks for articulating that. That resonates with me. I get it." Wanting to rest and be alone and wanting to create connection with my family members. Wanting to have a steady income in my business, but feeling guilty about taking the time to do it. Man.
Yes.
All kinds of great stuff. All right. Ready? Let's dive in. All you, babe. You got this.
Okay. Well, so what I wanted to really focus on today, and I know you've got some stuff from your coaching sessions that you do, but is the idea, because I know for me, this made a big positive impact in my life when I figured this out, when I had this realization and this understanding. Because I remember years ago reading about it and thinking kind of at the time, well, like, I don't know that that's really doable or attainable or possible. And it was this, what it was is this idea that, because I was reading about positive thinking and I was reading about, creating your life, and I was reading about manifesting and the law of attraction and all these different ideas, lots of different ideas. And one of the things that they kept saying was that there's more power in creating the life that you want, in achieving your goals, in manifesting, in whatever it is you want to call it, all of those ideas. There's more power when you can get your thoughts and your emotions to line up. And I was trying to find the chart that I wanted to show. I can't find the exact one I wanted. I think it's in the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, but we left that in Georgia. We did not bring it with us. You have to get your thoughts.
If you haven't read that book, buckle up.
Mind blowing.
Buckle up. It will change the way you live. Okay,
you have to get,
I know.
Because when we started out, we started out with affirmations and positive thinking and thinking like, oh, all we have to do is, think positively, have these positive affirmations. But all of the time, kind of my feelings were like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's too hard. And at the same time, dealing with stress, worry, frustration, anger, overwhelm. Okay, I'm feeling all of these emotions while trying to think positively. So what I was doing is I was living in incongruence. Okay, trying to do positive thinking, but my feelings were mostly negative, pretty much. So it wasn't until
anybody relate to that?
that?
Like your predominant emotion is stress or
worry,
frustration or worry or anger or bitterness, irritation, and you're sitting here going, I'm happy and jovial and I'm engaging with my family, and inside you're like,
we're going to create our dream life. We're going to build our business, but you're really just stressing about paying the bills next month, right? That was me for many years. Well, I finally realized, and it finally clicked, like, okay, again, I remember thinking this when I read Think and Grow Rich or whatever years ago, of like, when you get your thoughts and your emotions in alignment, that's where the true power is. And I thought, I just don't know how to do that. It's just too hard. Like, it's just not, I'm just not sure if that's doable. But when I figured out that right there is I don't know, what is the magic piece, the secret sauce, that's the thing. Wow, what a difference. Like it literally changed everything. And so you might be thinking, like I was, well, but how do you do that? Like, how do you feel different than you feel? Right? If life is happening to you and you've got all these bills to pay and you've got all these stresses and you're dealing with your children's problems and they're real problems, and like, how do you feel?
How can I change what I'm feeling
differently than what you feel? That's a really good question.
Huge. But it has to happen. We have to change our state.
Well, right. Okay. And I mean, I have some ideas I'm going to share, but I want to sit with that for a minute. Like, yeah, how do we do that? Because that really is the missing piece for a lot of people, I think. And I know it was the missing piece for me. Now, not that we didn't make any progress in reaching our goals. Well, we achieved a lot of goals. We did. But I think that it was a lot more strenuous, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Goal achievement's way harder when you're not focused.
Yeah, way harder when you're incongruent.
Yep. Because can I jump in for a second?
Go ahead.
Incongruence, and if you want to, I don't know, this idea is just so powerful in my mind right now. And maybe you can jot it down in your own words, and you might be able to phrase it better than I would. Incongruence is a barrier to direction, momentum, and pace.
And I would say too, I would also say inspiration.
And it's a barrier to inspiration. And so it becomes this grind. Here maybe a couple.
Let me just throw this in really quick. Inspiration, because when you're trying to achieve a goal, especially if it's a big goal or dream, it's a dumb goal, right? Demanding, unrealistic, meaningful, and bold. When you're trying to achieve a dream like that, you're not going to know how. We tell you that, set a goal, and you may not have any clue how you're going to achieve it. And that's happened, we've done that many times. The how comes through inspiration. But inspiration, and whether you believe that's from God or whatever, like inspiration is a thing. You have these insights that occur in your mind. I mean, that's how science, technology has all advanced, is through insight and inspiration. That comes
from alignment,
from coherence. You have to be aligned and coherent and congruent to receive that inspiration and to act on it. Because you might receive it, but you'll never act on it if your emotions are so negative that you can't move forward on that.
Or your actions are so off. You have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work effort. Not gonna happen, my friends. Who's catching this, man? Who's catching what Rachel's throwing here? Who's picking up what we're setting down? This is
nobody.
Like, come on. Like, this stuff is amazing. Let me give a couple metaphors. One is water. If you have water and it just kind of trickles this way and that way and it kind of spreads out, it doesn't do much. But you have all these little rivulets coming down into a stream, and then all these little streams coming down into a river, and all these rivers coming down into a massive river. You create momentum. But
and
then
you become a force to reckon with.
Then if it spreads out like the Missouri or the Mississippi or other ones, they spread out. There's a river in the central US it's a mile wide and only a couple feet deep. It's kind of moseying along versus the Grand Canyon. Focused, it just brings it all into alignment and it cuts through rock. That's where you have to get your life. You have to bring all this chaos into focused order and alignment and go. Here's another one, light. If you take light and just kind of spread it, if light just kind of spreads, it doesn't do much. But you bring it into an actual laser, a laser beam, and a laser can burn a tattoo off your skin. We'll just use that example. Not that I have any personal experience of having a stupid decision removed. but a laser, a light can burn your skin. Isn't that amazing? You focus in light with a magnifying glass. You with me? Like, this is cool stuff. But you have to create alignment in your life. Now, some of you are on this call with us right now, or in this group. In fact, Rob's here. And I've been working with Rob. And when he gets all this stuff in alignment, he knows this. Man, and he sets a focused, crazy goal. And his emotions, his thoughts, everything's in it. Boom! We can do stuff we never thought possible. And I'm working with others in the group here that, you know, when you get spread out, you get spread thin, it is so hard to get anything done, let alone your big, important goals and your major objectives. Isn't this stuff amazing? Oh, I love it. Okay, so let's get real for a minute together. Where in your life, just don't pick everything. Pick one or two things where you know you need some serious alignment, congruence, and coherence. So what is it? Let's share that first. Everyone start sharing. We'll share what's the thing you're going to focus on and what are you going to do? And pick, you might be right now, but like, it's all incongruent. My whole life is the definition of incongruence, right? Well, pick one thing because it starts to go in favor, right? Here's another one. You want to be productive and effective, but your workspace is a disaster. You with me? Total incongruence. You're like, you see yourself as a clean person, but you have very dirty habits. You know what I'm talking about? So it's this incongruence. And so you've got to create this alignment of what you want and what you're doing, what you desire, what you're focused on, and what you think and feel, like Rachel was talking about, right? We've got to create this alignment in our lives. So here's a question. So I want everyone to start thinking about that. And I know a couple people just joined us. So I want you to think about right now, think about the areas of your life where you feel incongruent. You feel like you're pulling inside yourself. You feel like you're pulling in opposite directions, right? You're operating in perpetual self-sabotage. I want to go here, but I'm going here. I want this, but I'm keep doing this. I want to feel this way, but I keep feeling this way. You with me? So what's the area in your life that you most want to bring into alignment and congruence? And then we'll talk about how. But there's some questions came in here, so I'll address them. My big question is how, especially when you are so spread out, like you just said, totally living in survival mode. And that's an excellent point. When we get spread really thin and our efforts are not focused, it's a little bit here, a little bit here. We're constantly putting out fires. We're going in every direction. We don't get much done.
Which we totally get that because we're doing that right now. Like we're working on a construction project that we're living in Guatemala. So we get what that feels like. You know, we understand this from our own experience.
And some of you, I'll throw this out. Some of you have massive responsibilities. You're working with a lot of moving parts, or even more complicated, a lot of moving people. If your work or your family life or the organization you're running has a lot of moving parts and people, man, it is easy just to like, and you get so spread out. You're like, what in the world do I do with myself? And so you don't ever feel like you move a lot in one direction, because you're giving a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. So your wife gets some leftovers, or your kids get some leftovers. The husband gets some leftovers. A little bit of work gets done, but you never feel like you're really moving forward. There's another, you guys, you know, you're going to get like 27 book recommendations every time we talk. There's another great book called The One Thing, and it's written by Gary Keller. So he was the creator of Keller Williams, the real estate empire. And it's, from what I understand, at the time of the writing, it was the biggest real estate business in the world. And he says, as I was trying to run this massive, massive international business with all these people and all these things, he says, I felt like I wasn't getting anything done. It was always here, there, everything, all emails, messages, all this stuff. He's like, I couldn't get anything done. And so he created a system, which he now wrote in his book, called The One Thing. And he said, every morning before I did anything else, before I checked messages or emails or answer my phone, before I did anything else, I carved out space to work on the most important thing, period. The one thing that would make the biggest difference. See, that's alignment. That's bringing all that water into one canyon. That's bringing all that light into one laser. It's bringing your efforts into one spot. Oh, go baby.
And I want to add to this because I love reading business books and personal development books and all of that. But my one problem I always had with them was, you are a man in the business world. I have kids.
You don't have kids.
Okay. I have constant interruptions and I can't just ignore them because they might die from starvation or something like that. So
Rachel can't take the first 3 hours of the morning and say, I'm doing my one thing.
Right. I
Toddlers and
can't do that.
infants.
So what I do is I take the principles that I learned because they're great principles and I see how I can apply them to motherhood. Now, the way that I applied something like the one thing is I chunk my life into chunks. Okay. I divide my life into chunks of time. So I think about myself as a person and I'm like, okay, I'm a person, I'm me, and I'm a mother and I'm a wife and I'm a business person and I'm, whatever else that is I want to do. And so I give a chunk of time during at least the week, if not every day, to that different role. Like I have to give, a chunk of time to my family every day, and I have to give a chunk of time to myself every day because I realize how important that is. And I give a chunk of time to my husband, and I give a chunk of time to
I'm always grateful for those chunks. Just saying.
And then when I'm in that time chunk, I only focus on my one thing. Right? So when I'm with the family, I focus on my one thing for the family. But then I tell my family, okay, I've spent some time with you. Now I'm going to focus on my business. Now, that doesn't mean that there's never any interruptions, but I tell them, hey, I'm now working on my business. So go get your brother to help you. Go get your sister, like even go watch him, whatever it takes. I'm in the one thing right now of working on my business. That means this stuff gets neglected.
Are you guys hearing this? Like, this is game-changing, huge. It's not going to be like because as a parent with all these roles, you may not have that luxury to be like, I'm just doing this thing. You can't do that, right? But you can chunk your day.
Especially if you work from home and you homeschool and you all these other things.
You can really divide it and say, you know what, at least for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on where the stage of your family is. If you have little
30
ones,
minutes,
right? If you have little ones, you're like nap time, or even like, we don't like to do this, but we will do it. If it's a movie, like, okay, like desperate situations, like put on a movie, like, but get to work and focus in. So take periods of your day where you bring it all together and like, I'm going to make progress right here. Right? Oh, so important.
So back to the question of like, well, how do you do that when I feel so spread out? That honestly is how you do it. And for me, and I'll say, I know that that's true because I've been having to do that again. We moved to Guatemala last month. I think we've been here like 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe. And since then it's been a construct. I'm telling you, we got to this house. Okay. See this house right here? See the furniture and doors? When we got here, the floor was covered with this much dirt. The walls were not finished. We had no doors. We had no fridge, no stove, barely any running water. Like, we've been just like this, trying to get this house livable since we got here. So it's been chaotic. So I get this, where you feel spread because you're dealing with the next most important thing. Oh, I need to take a shower. Wait, there's no hot water. There's no shower doors. There's no towels. There's no, it's the next most important thing. But I'm getting back to the point where now I'm like, okay, I have to start chunking my day. And I've been doing it the last week or week and a half. I've got to chunk my day again. Because sometimes that's true. We are living in survival mode because you really are.
You're just surviving.
When you're trying to get a house ready to live, that's a form of survival mode. And some of us are living in survival mode for whatever reason. But the thing is, you're not meant to stay in survival mode forever. That's not normal.
And from
or
conversations
healthy.
we've had with some of you, we know you have been in survival mode for years or decades.
And we're telling you,
we love you, but
lovingly,
we know who you are.
and I'm telling you lovingly, that's not good or healthy. You need to figure out how to get out of survival mode, and you can do it. Because things that are survival mode are supposed to be temporary, and you're supposed to handle the situation and then get back to a manageable life.
So you might feel chaotic sometimes. That's cool. It's okay. But if it's longer than weeks
chronic,
or at most months, if it's chronic, there's something off.
You need to address and take care of, and to get your life in control.
So for some of you, this may not be for all of you, but for some of you, I have to ask this. What do you need to cut out of your life?
Sometimes it's that cutting things out.
Wait,
sorry, I know.
We gotta let that one land. It's maybe not for everybody, but I feel pretty confident there's a few people on here listening that right now you know what I'm talking about. You've got to cut something out, and you've been kind of back and forth. Oh, I don't know. There's something. It's like it's got to go just for your sanity and your productivity. Sometimes we get doing things that are important, but are good, and they're costing us what's great. It's what we call the exchange rate. We exchange this extraordinary life we want for a bunch of good things. So carefully evaluate your exchange rate. And some of you, I know it may not be everybody, but some of you have got to cut some stuff out of your life. You just got to say, no, it's gone.
And I would say that is definitely one of the things that's made the biggest difference for our success and achievement of our big dreams, is that we do cut out a lot of stuff. We say no to a lot of stuff. We honestly, we don't do a lot of social engagements. We do very select social engagements. We don't do a lot of church stuff. We do what we need to do. We don't do a lot of fill in the blank. Like there's a lot of things we don't do because we focus very specifically on the things we want to do. And that's all we do.
Wayne Dyer used to say, look, I stopped going to tribal events a long time ago. Like, stop inviting me. I don't participate in tribal events, right? He's like, I stepped out of social expectations. So quit sending me invitations. I'm like, no. Right. And what he's saying is, I'm just going to intentionally choose to live my best life and say no to other things. You can't say yes to all the stuff that's going on. It's crazy.
Which is interesting for me. I've been thinking about that while we've been here in Guatemala, because we have a construction crew here every day. We have a caretaker that lives on the property with children. I am personally interacting with more people on a daily basis than I have in a long time. Now that might sound weird to you, but our life is so intentionally created that we don't interact with a lot of people on a daily basis in our day-to-day things, except for when it's intentional. We're going to meet with you to hang out because we choose to. We're going to do coaching because we choose to. We're going to, travel somewhere because it's always very intentional activities and interactions, if that makes sense. So it is interesting here where we've got all of the stuff going on that we're not used to that. I'm not used to that.
Okay, awesome
but
question.
It's because of our intentionality in setting up our life so that it has exactly the things that we want in it, so we can be focused on achieving what it is we want to achieve. Does that make sense?
Love it. So what are you going to cut? Somebody in the comments said, I have a lot of things to cut. And there may be a few of you who are like, I got to bring out the machete and just start whacking stuff. But there's a fantastic question in here. We'll come back up to those. Okay. The question is about
some of the things to cut: wasted time on social media,
wasted time, minus scrolling. So John asked, what if the things you feel you need to cut are kids' activities? Too many dance classes, soccer games, etc. Can you cut back on their stuff? Man, that is a great question, because as parents, we want our kids to have lots of activities, right? In fact, I was thinking about this. Thanks for bringing that up because it sparked something I wanted to share with you guys when I was driving back. We have activities, right? Just jot this down. I want you to chew on this for a little while. As a family, individuals, as couples, as a family, and for our kids, we have activities that build competence and we have activities that build character. And we need both. And we need a good balance of both, right? So that's just huge parenting right there. Activities that build competence and activities that build character. A big difference. Anyways, so now you're looking at your schedule, and this is common. I hear this quite a bit because you feel just run empty, right? You're just a taxi driver here, there, everywhere. I'm trying to support my kids, so I'm at every game. Now I'm going to practices. Now I'm running here, running there, paying for all this stuff. And all that is, it is really awesome, right? But when it starts to overwhelm you, or I see this a lot too, overwhelm the kid, then here's what we've done. Ask the child, when your plate gets too full, which of the things would you cut? And so we're training our kids to also come back, right? Talk about incongruence. They're like, I want to be world-class at this, and that. And they're like, I can't do it all. And you see them stressed and they're crying or stressed out or feeling like they're trying to do their studies and they're trying to practice the violin and they're trying to be amazing in gymnastics. And they feel spread too thin. And so teach them this principle and have them bring back, say, if you had to pick one to cut out, which one would you cut out? And teach them to do that, to cut back where they have some space.
I think
they have some time.
Yeah, I personally think it's better for them to focus on just a couple things that they really like and really want to do than to have them be doing tons of stuff. Not that I'm against them trying. If they want to try something, I'm like, great, try it.
Yeah.
But then if in the end they're like, I tried it, but I like this better. I'm like, okay, pick what you like better, because you can't do everything. So pick what you really like the most.
What do you want to lean into?
Then the other thing that I do is I like to try to get creative and to outsource.
That's what I was going to next.
Yeah, that in any way. If you can get someone else to drive for you.
Uber. Just get an auto dial Uber driver. Well, unless your drive to practice is when you can really connect with your kid, then make that drive time count.
Like Greg would do things where he would drive our kids to some practice and then he can connect with them, but then he also sits in the car while he's waiting and makes a podcast.
Do some important work or report podcasts
so
or do a workout.
Use that as a time to help you do something else that's important. Great. Right. So outsourcing, getting creative in some way. Like right now I have 2 local Guatemalan young men who have come up to the house. Yeah. So they come up to where we are and are teaching my kids soccer. Right. So I don't have to go anywhere. I have them coming here and they're teaching my kids soccer.
So it's just tutors, like hire coaches.
Thinking through it different ways.
So here's something else. We took violin lessons from a professional violinist he was from the United States, but he was living in Paris playing as a professional violinist, and he was doing lessons via Zoom. Right. So if you're like, my kids want to keep going with this, or they want voice lessons or these other things, like, can we find that online so we can cut out drive time? Right.
Or we had a guitar teacher coming
to the house. We had voice teachers come to the house.
It costs a little bit extra for that, but for me, that's worth it, because now instead of my time driving, I get to work. So I'm increasing my earning ability by having someone come to my house instead of me driving them to a lesson. Right? So does that make sense? And we think, I can't afford that. I can't afford to pay more for my kids to have a private tutor at our house. Well, that's because you're not thinking on a bigger scale. If you want to increase your earning ability, you need to cut out your driving time and turn that into working time. And if you do that, then you will be able to afford it, because now you're working instead of driving all over the place.
Nice. Love it.
That's mine.
A question back to social connection. So how do you connect with other families and make friendships without those social things? So awesome question. We just want to clarify. We do have social interactions, but they're very intentional and very strategic. We won't just say yes to whatever. We're not just like, oh,
We're
here,
not just
there.
like, oh, let's hang out tonight. We're like
when we get together, we really connect. So the friendships we do have are super powerful, and we just feel really connected. And same with our kids. We love it. So I want to share this. I woke up the other morning.
That doesn't totally answer the question. How do you make friendships? I guess I think nowadays we usually make our friendships online, and then we connect in person. So that's one of the challenges and things I realized about living in a neighborhood in the States is that your friendships become just the people who happen to be around you. But I've personally found that my closest friendships don't come from the people that happen to live around me. They come from people I connect with through other interests or passions. In fact, almost all of our friends at this point came from traveling. Like we've met all of our closest friends while we were traveling because we've met someone who has similar values, interests, passions. We connect on a deeper level. And then that's where we get our friends. So that's my thoughts.
Bam, bam.
Okay. I interrupted what you were saying.
Okay. So let's circle back to the thing you want to work on and get alignment, bring alignment into your life. One of the things I always work on with coaching is holistic optimization, like getting optimized for your whole life. And I think it always comes down to doing the most important things first. Now, I think
those chunks.
I think all of you have seen this object lesson, but I woke up the other morning like at 4 a.m. and it was on my mind. And I'm like, oh man, I got to do this. So I created a post or other thing. I'm going to do a podcast on it. And I went outside, I grabbed 2 jars and I did it. I wanted to do it right there for reals. And so I did. I'm going to share this picture. I took this picture. So it's there. I totally should have done a reel. So there it is right there. You can see it. Lighting's not awesome. But I took 2 jars and went outside. And with one, I started with the big rocks first, right? I put them in and I got everything the same size. Bump, 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 bump. The other one, I started with sand first. And so I put all the sand in and then the pebbles and then the rocks. The other one, I went the rocks, then the pebbles, then the sand. And I took the exact same amount, right? And in the one, it totally fit. And in the other, it's not. And so often our lives, we feel like it's just overflowing. I can't get it all done. I can't fit all this stuff in. It's just not working. And you do that perpetually. And so then you're like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. It can't be done. It's crazy. Other people, they're lucky. But when we get our lives into alignment, we break it into chunks and we bring in the focus and we work on the most important things, then we can actually fit in a lot more. And one of the greatest things I love to teach and help people do is learn how to do way more with far less stress. So go back to the chat here. So again, I want you to think, what's the one thing you want to bring alignment to in your life? So here's one in the chat. It says, good example. I want to be productive and organized in many ways, but I can't get control of my house and all the stuff. Well, yes, you can. But so right now I'm in my basement sorting out stuff, mostly kids' clothes. Fantastic. That's the big focus to get the house in order. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you might pick something like that. I've got to get all of our stuff in order.
I would personally say, like, I fully believe there's a direct connection between bringing order to your life and bringing order to your stuff. If you can't first bring order to your stuff and keep it in order, you're going to have a much more difficult time bringing order to your life. There's just some sort of connection there. You are a reflection. Your environment is a reflection of you. So your environment is a reflection of what's going on here and here. So talk about incongruence. If you can't get this aligned, that's why your environment is in disarray. It is a reflection of what is going on in your heart and in your mind.
So the chaos around you is just reflecting the chaos inside you. Now, for some, yeah, exactly. You need some internal alignment first. Great comment. Mm-hmm. That's true. And for some, that might feel a little painful to hear that, but I think you'll agree that it resonates, doesn't it? Like, yeah, okay. I got a little chaos going on here. I got a little chaos going on here. And of course, it's showing up in my life. It can't not.
So one of the best things I think to do, which is kind of interesting how this works, is if you can learn how to bring order to your environment first, that's a great place to start. That's a great place to practice. And it helps you to bring order and congruence to your emotions and to your mind. So I think, like I love to tell people, one of the best places to start is like, okay, how can I bring order to my room? You start with
Make your
room.
bed.
Make your bed. Make your bed every single day. No, seriously. We make our bed every day, even in a hotel room sometimes. Once in a while, I'm like, it's a hotel room. I'm going to not make the bed today. But that's rare. I make my bed every day. It's made right now. Clean up your room. Your bedroom should be inviting and beautiful and like a place you want to be. Same with the rest of your house. Like go through your house room by room and make it beautiful, organized, inspiring. That is a perfect place to start if you want to bring order to your life and create congruence.
All right. Just for fun, just for accountability. Can you guys hear us? Give us a yes if you can hear us, or thumbs up. Looks like some of it's frozen. Anyone? Okay. So yes, they're saying yes. And work from a place, great comment here. Work from a place of peace. And it's not stress. Like sometimes you'll add stress to your like, like I got to do all this stuff to get alignment in my life. Like that's not helping you. Like take a breather, get clear, get focus on here, and just lean in.
Distraction. We're distracted.
Just because I'm reading comments. I'm like, I'm trying to say something and I'm reading comments. Incongruence. But get to this place where you're operating from a really healthy spot of like, don't you want this? Don't you want to be in control of your life? Right? Don't you want to have control of it? Like it often feels out of control. Many of you said your major predominant emotion is overwhelm. Let's get it back to where you've got a hold of it and you're like, this is where we're going. And this is how we're getting there.
And I think that that's a good point about congruence, is that Greg talks about this all the time in his coaching, is your state. Okay. Every one of us has a state, and that's the overall combination of your thoughts and feelings. So some of you mentioned that your main state is a state of overwhelm. Well, if you operate from a state of overwhelm on a regular basis, guess what you're going to create more of? You're going to create more overwhelm, because the thinking that's happening, right? The thoughts and feelings that are happening are actually creating more of the thoughts and feelings that are happening. Does that make sense? So in order to change that, if you want to get a different result, if you want to get something else than what you currently have, you have to change the thoughts and feelings. You have to change your state so that you then can think more clearly, receive better inspiration, and take better action. That's the only way to change it. So you have to work from and think from and operate from a place of, well, a better state, essentially, in order to create what it is you want, the life that you want.
Booyah! Okay, let's share some accountability, guys. So everyone just share. And in fact, a couple of you can jump on mic. Those of you who are in the Zoom with us can jump on mic and share if you want. Or let's throw it in the chat box. What are you going to focus on? Just for accountability, just to share, inspire each other. What one thing are you going to focus on doing, bringing more alignment to your life? So pick your thing and let's all share here. Bring it in. It might be physical, might be mental, emotional, spiritual, social, financial. Man, I meet with a lot of people and see it. There are people financially incongruent all over the place. So what's the one thing you want to focus on? Again, you can't focus on 20 things, so don't even try it. Just pick one thing that you're going to just zone in on and get congruent.
But there's a good point Heather has. You can pick one thing for each
Time chunk. Beautiful.
Of your time or your role, if that's how you want to think about it.
So start chunking
for each of your roles.
And let me say this, can I lean in here? If we were together, I would lovingly give you a big old bear hug and then say, chunk your time and then honor that chunk.
Honor the chunk.
Honor the chunk. You guys write that down. Honor the chunk. We should get hats and t-shirts made, banners, bumper stickers. Honor the chunk. Most of us, we don't honor our own time. We make an appointment with somebody else and man, we're there. We make a time chunk for ourselves and we're like, oh, I can't get to it.
Right.
And so we disregard it.
Heather's saying that.
So read the comment.
Okay. Time chunking and trying to focus on the one thing for that time chunk and try really hard to not let myself get pulled away unless there's a fire or blood.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to have that mentality. If you had an appointment with someone, you're going to do what you have to with your kids and you're going to tell them I have an appointment and don't bother me. Don't get a babysitter, whatever. But then when we have an appointment with ourselves, we don't do the same thing. You have to do the same thing. You have to honor that appointment with yourself. And that's essentially your time chunk.
Boom. Love it. Here's another one. Learning to say no to things that do not fit into my schedule. Even bigger than that, I would say that don't fit into your big goals and objectives.
Because the schedule needs to be determined by the big goals and objectives. Like we have, for those of you who've done the Epic Life Planner that we have, that's where you start. You can't make your to-do lists until you first made your life vision, right? You have to make that's where people go wrong because they make their to-do list based on whatever's right in front of them, whatever's happening. But if you do it that way, you never create the extraordinary life you want because you're always looking at whatever's right in front of you. And so you keep creating more of what's right in front of you. The only way to get out of that is to get the big vision and work back from that and then create your to-do list. The big rocks. Those are the big rocks. There's
a perfect example right there of incongruence. Our schedules don't align with our vision. Our routine, our schedules don't match up with our goals. That's the incongruence. We've got our written schedules don't actually line up with what we do, right? Our actual schedule and your schedule, your real schedule, the things you actually do are a reflection of your future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So look at your schedule.
You look at your day-to-day schedule that will predict your future.
So here's another one. My time chunk is to complete my morning habits. Yeah, lean into those. Make them count. If you have to be flexible, sometimes you do them earlier, sometimes you do them later, sometimes it's a little shorter, adjusted, but do them. Religiously do them. Okay. So another one, marriage. Focus on the marriage. And now we've had a few comments come in. They're awesome. You want to say, oh, my number one thing is my marriage, or my number one thing is family. That's too general. Like, I want you to get really specific because you might be saying, it's my family's most important, but that's incongruent because you're not saying a very specific thing. I will spend quality time with my family without my device, and I will be pleasant. A lot of you want to be good parents, but you're really unpleasant to be around. Can I just lovingly say that?
And
right? That's incongruent.
What I find is, I have family time, but if I don't have a very specific purpose to that family time, I end up feeling annoyed, irritated, frustrated, like I should be doing something else, or I want to do something else. So I still have to have this one thing to my family time, if that makes sense. And whether that's mentoring my kids one-on-one, whether that's having a devotional, whether that's teaching them how to fold their clothes and put them in a drawer, whether that like I come up with lots of different one things, but if I don't have a one thing for that family time, I feel like it's less fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I think they do too, because our kids also, they have their things they want to do. They want to, work on their projects and do their stuff too. And so if we're just like, hey, we're going to have family time, you know, I don't know. I like to have and sometimes it's great to just sit around and hang out, and that's great. But you also, if you're trying to create this extraordinary family, that also is an intentional thing. Extraordinary doesn't happen by accident. You have to be intentional about that. And one of the things that we've done is we've always been super intentional about the time we spend with our family is helping us to reach the long-term big picture goals.
So family time is actually, it can be combined with goal achievement. We're moving forward and make it super quality so it's going somewhere. Okay, let's keep going. There's great comments coming in. Being centered, Abby said, being centered and focused in each moment, taking deep breaths and finding joy with the kids, with work, with the housework, etc. Yes, that's huge, right? We want to enjoy our lives, but then we're constantly irritated by the dishes and the messes and the right? So take a deep breath, calm down, find joy in the moment. That's congruence, right?
And that's recognizing that it really is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to talk to your kids. It's an opportunity to answer questions. It's an opportunity to teach them how to do this work and like the right way or the best way to do it, right? So that they do it in a way that works for the family and that they can take those skills onto their, you know, adulthood. So it's an opportunity to teach them the things you actually want to teach them. So if we view it as that, instead of like an annoyance or an irritation or like something to hurry through so we can get to something else, then we actually miss that opportunity. And then we're like, hey, why didn't my kids ever learn to wash the dishes or whatever? And it's like, oh, because we hurried through it.
Or why does life feel like such a blah?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and she says this here, she's like, I rushed through everything and tried to just do lots of things at once. I notice I say hurry a lot to my kids, right? And that's incongruence. Multitasking, you guys, is incongruent. Trying to multitask, well, there's sometimes you can do it, but trying to do a lot of things at once, it just creates incongruence. Okay, here's another one. Vanessa said, I want to solidify my goals so I can actually create a schedule and know what to do with my time. Huge, huge, huge. I come across that one a lot where people are like, well, I could get up early, I could do this, but like, what should I do? What should I be working on? And that's the right pattern right there. Nail those goals, get really clear about where you're going, and then get really clear about what fits. And then like many of you said, get really clear about what doesn't. So this is my goal. This is what fits. This is what doesn't. I say no to this. I say yes to this.
And the Extraordinary Life Planner is really helpful for that. So.
Okay. Boom.
Is that it?
All right. Get after it, you guys. So good. This is so fun. It's man, just critically important. Like this is essential. You will feel so much more direction, so much more momentum, more progress. You'll move at a pace that feels good instead of the snail's pace that you're suffering with.
Have you ever had one of those dreams where you're like running, but you're not going anywhere? Like your feet are just moving and you're not going anywhere. That's what it's like to live in incongruence all the time. So when you can get incongruence, when you can bring alignment and order to your environment, to your feelings, to your thoughts, when you can feel. This is one of the best ways to think about it. And he talks about it in Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. When you can imagine yourself in the future life you want to create, where everything is how it is, how you want it to be, and you can feel the way you would feel then, that's how you create that. So think about that. Think about what that would feel like. And on a daily basis, practice that. That's all you're doing. You're practicing feeling that way. And when you feel stressed and you feel worried and you feel upset, just say, is this helping me create the life I want to live? And if not, at the very least, go back to gratitude and think about what you are grateful for, because gratitude will help you bring more of those positive emotions.
As will excitement. What are you excited about?
Excitement, yes.
Be grateful and be excited. I think, and we'll wrap up with this, guys, so we'll be done. Thanks for being this awesome. I love this stuff. I think the most painful and frustrating incongruence is the gap between your best self, who you are as your best. And this isn't some third person. This isn't like oh, one day, oh, it's you already. You are your best self already. It's in there. The power is in there. In my experience, everyone has this image of their best self, but then we kind of just, we slack off, and we don't align our attitude and our behavior, our actions, our words, and our feelings with our best self. We just kind of let stuff slip. And it's not that you can't, it's just that you don't. Let that sink in. It's not that you can't, it's that you don't. So what Rachel's saying there is like, lean in, just practice being your best self. And every day you get a little bit better at it. And so it becomes a little easier. But think about it. The more hours that you spend as your best self, the more you're living in alignment and congruence, and life just gets better and richer, more meaningful, more fulfilling, more exciting. And you are living this extraordinary family life that we all dream about and want to live, and that you deserve to live. Boom! Man, I love this stuff. And I love you guys. You're awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being great peeps. Can't wait to hang out and do awesome adventures. And some people were asking in here, like, hey, can I send my son or my daughter? Like, yes. Come, you guys come have adventures with us. Come have trips. Come down to Guatemala. Come see us. Come on. We're planning more adventures for later this year and for next year. Like, just these extraordinary pattern interrupter experiences that are literally life-changing. It's super awesome. And it's just a great way to break away from everything and reset and lean into being your best self and living in congruence. Okay, that's it. Love you guys. You're awesome. Have an absolutely fantastic evening or day. Those of you on the other side of the world, you guys are great. Have a great evening together. Go. If you're married, go smooch on your spouse right now. If I know there's some kids listening, go hug your siblings, go hug your parents, tell them thanks, go hand out some compliments, write some nice letters. Just make today count. Love you guys. Reach upward.